evening. My name's Mish Maudsley, also known as Mishfit, and I'm a Brighton-based contemporary urban artist. I recently put on my own virtual exhibition of my latest collection of works called Wild Skies, and I've been asked on this evening by the lovely people at FuseBox to share my experience of working with the virtual platform, the pros, the cons, and the things I learnt. So before we get into that, I'll just give you a little bit of background on myself as an artist. I work in multiple approaches. I work with large-scale murals in spray paint. Typically, my subjects are kind of feisty women with very, very vibrant, colourful backgrounds, quite uplifting and empowering work. You may have seen some of my pieces around Brighton. And I also work in the studio on smaller works on paper and canvases for private commissions and galleries. Now, I had a collection of work growing, and my plan was for this year, 2020, was to hit the art fairs and try and get into galleries. And I had it all laid out, all arranged. And then suddenly the world got cancelled. So this was obviously a massive shock to everybody, but it hit multiple industries in different ways, and it really, really hit the art world very, very hard. Summer is typically, art fair time, and this is a multi-billion-pound industry globally, and suddenly all these art fairs across the globe were cancelled. And obviously the galleries were hugely affected as well. So as an industry as a whole, people were scrambling for ideas, solutions. What the hell do you do when suddenly the way of communicating your product has disappeared? And for artists themselves as well, so much work goes into organising your work for art fairs, for gallery shows, and suddenly all that is whisked away from you. So yeah, everyone was in a bit of a tailspin, but this did kind of present an opportunity of doing an exhibition in a slightly different way. So I started doing some research. I will just say I had absolutely no experience whatsoever with any kind of virtual platform, but I am also a digital designer, so I feel fairly literate in the digital world, and I figured, come on, it can't be that hard, right? So I just did some research and suddenly discovered there were actually all these virtual platforms out there ready to go, in surprisingly quite affordable terms as well. Monthly subscriptions, and you just pay for what you use, and then you can cancel your subscription at the end of it. So this actually seemed like an incredibly viable option. So I decided that instead of trying to do a physical show or a physical art fair, I would in fact do a virtual exhibition. And once I'd got my head around that, then everything just kind of fell into place really nicely. And this is a little thumbnail of what the space ended up looking like. So I'll delve into the actual mechanics of the platform I ended up using, which is called kunstmatrix, so art in German, kunstmatrix.com. And I will just nip over to show you what the actual exhibition ended up looking like. So incredibly accessible. Once you've created it, you can embed it on your website. So I'll show you around the front end, and then I'll just show you the back end as well. So it's embedded on a page on my actual website, so the user can just come in here and, as you would in a normal gallery, just navigate your way around the space. You can click in to each of the artworks and read more information. You can click through to the gallery to actually buy the piece. And the beautiful thing is the customer can just guide themselves around the space as you would in a genuine gallery. So this is an incredibly powerful tool, which was really set up without too much effort, surprisingly. So I was just really blown away by the ease of how someone with very little experience of using anything like this in terms of immersive tech could suddenly have a relatively slick looking product in a matter of hours. So this is the front end. Obviously this page can be accompanied by your own content as well. This is my own website and the gallery is embedded at the top. So super, super flexible. In terms of the actual platform itself, this is the back end. And what really blew me away really with this was how immediate and how experimental it could be. Once you have your artwork in the inventory, you can literally arrange it in any of these rooms and you can change the rooms really, really quickly. So if you decide you want to, you know, double up in size or triple up in size or go smaller, you can. What was an incredible feature was that you could actually change the colours of the walls as well. So, you know, I went from having a traditional white gallery space to like, actually, no, maybe this would look really nice with dark walls. And that's in the end what I ended up with. So the ability to chop and change and really be very experimental with the curation of the show, you know, and the narrative you're telling within the space and how it looks was really quite powerful compared to how long that would actually take you in real life to actually hang a physical show. So immediately the benefits were so obvious to me that I almost wondered why had I never considered doing this before. And also I could see that the, you know, art world as a whole would massively benefit from this kind of platform. Another added feature of this particular platform was the ability to have an augmented reality feature as well. So this means that when the work is uploaded, you create a repository. Somebody can log into an app, they get a marker which they download, and they can literally just stick that to their wall in their house and then use the app on their phone to view your painting in situ in their lounge room, which from an art buyer's perspective is incredible, and as an artist's perspective that's amazing as well, because a lot of people are a bit, you know, concerned about investing in art. They're not sure how it's going to look in their house, they're not sure about the scale, if that's going to work. So for them to be able to try this out in, you know, as good a way as possible without actually having the piece physically there, again, this is a very, very powerful tool. So, you know, I did a whole bunch of research and I decided to use kunstmatrix because it suited me. It was a nice balance between looking slick enough without being too expensive. There are other products out there which, you know, you get what you pay for, you pay more money and it does look more sophisticated. I did come up against just my own lack of knowledge. I made a few assumptions about this particular platform. I presumed it would work with a VR headset. It took a friend to inform me that in fact it didn't, and it was basically fake 3D. So with a VR headset you didn't actually get the three-dimensional effect you would get with true VR. So that was an interesting learning curve for me. With some of these other ones, you do actually get that feature, but it does cost quite a bit more. So again, it's you get what you pay for. But I think for my event, the level and the fidelity was enough. I mean, people seemed to really enjoy using the space and navigating around it. So that was good enough for me. So in terms of the pros of using this platform, as I discussed before, the ease and the flexibility of the setup versus an actual physical show was just remarkable. The quickness, the way you could just change your mind, rehang something in a matter of minutes was really the biggest plus for me, for sure. allowing experimentation. You know, you can put these big super graphics on the walls with these kind of explainer posters really, really easily. You can change the wall colour, which absolutely made a fundamental difference to how the show looked. Again, if to do that in the physical world, that would be a whole day of repainting the gallery plus drying time. So again, just a massive win. Another huge feature is this was highly cost effective. I mean, the platform itself, I think, was £40 for the month, you know, versus £1,000 to hire a gallery space, or paying a gallery 50% commission on a show. So from a financial perspective, that was a huge, huge win. A thing I noticed, which I didn't anticipate happening, was the event attracted a much broader audience range than it would have done normally. So in the end, the people that bought artwork, I know for a fact they would never have actually come to a show, either because of geography or just lifestyle choices. They just wouldn't have come. But they were the ones that bought the most artwork and spent the most money. So if I hadn't have done a virtual event, I wouldn't have made those extra sales. I can absolutely say that 100%, you know, with 100% certainty. So that was, again, a huge win. Accessibility. So for anyone with mobility issues or mental health issues, or, you know, issues of being in a crowded space and anxiety, this format is just hugely inviting for them. And from an accessibility issue, just making a show like this accessible to so many more people, I think, is hugely valuable. The viewer has total control over their own experience. That's what I love. They can go in, each person can have a completely different experience of the space. And also, because it was all in a digital format, it was actually very easy for me to capture the event. And I did this in the format of a live broadcast on YouTube with a very good friend Reefa, who was my interviewer. And yeah, we just had a little Q&A as we wandered around the exhibition space. And I could record the whole thing and broadcast it live on YouTube, whilst the viewers could interact with me via the chat box. And now I have this on my YouTube channel as, you know, a replay which I can go back to at any time. So again, that's a great thing to have. Now, with pros, there are always some cons, and I wanted to be completely transparent about this process and just discuss the cons quickly as well. So as I mentioned before, I made some assumptions about the tech, which turns out that the tech was more limited than I presumed it would be. Also the quality, you know, it's not like a high quality render like you would expect from an architectural model or something like that. It is a little bit limited, but like I said, I felt it was enough for this experience. Next time round, I may actually invest in a higher end product, but this was a kind of experiment. So slightly limited, you get what you pay for. There is, I believe, no substitute for seeing art in the flesh. I mean, I know someone else that may be talking at this event has had experience with some high quality immersive tech capturing and scanning artwork, and I'd be so interested to see that, because for me a lot of it is about the texture and the detail and the surface reflection, which in this format certainly you don't capture it. So there is an element of being a little bit removed from, you know, the physical experience. From an event perspective, obviously there's less spontaneity than a live gallery private view, but, you know, where there's cons, there's also pros. And also, you know, any kind of digital event is at risk of just getting lost in the noise. I think digital fatigue is a real issue, and there's a lot of weight goes onto the marketing and how you promote an event like this, so that it just doesn't get swamped. So remember, you know, the whole art industry basically had to jump on this virtual bandwagon for reasons of survival, essentially. So the art world went from basically zero virtual events, really, to that being the only format that they could get the work out there. So I just found a couple of quotes in the Financial Times. Online viewing rooms kept the art world active during a very difficult time and were almost crucial to the survival of the art industry throughout, the summer of 2020. But with that, lessons are being swiftly learnt along the way. There became so much digital fatigue. There was too much material for collectors, and it was difficult to come up with something fresh and not formulaic. The best digital offerings have been small, compact, and very specific. So that's a really interesting thought going forward, is, the care in which you have to curate your event is no less than it is in the real world. If anything, it has to be even more on point and even more considered to stand out from the crowd. It's interesting, I mean, museums and galleries have been embracing immersive tech for, good 5 years, but it wasn't until this year that it has actually been seen as something that is vital. And, certain galleries have gone entirely online now, entirely virtual. A lot of art fairs are now making this a staple of their offering for next year. So it's gone from having just physical stalls to immersive online viewing rooms as an option. As an artist you can buy, and they tend to be a lot cheaper than the physical stalls as well. So it's definitely changing the art industry as a whole, which is fascinating to see how that will evolve over the next couple of years. It's had so many different effects, and we could talk about so many aspects of this without even touching on the immersive art becoming an art form in itself. I'm just looking at immersive tech as a way of delivering physical art and the different approaches I've seen. And I just love, virtual tours of physical spaces where someone has actually gone in and scanned the entire gallery space, allowing you to walk around and have a look. This is Stolen Space Urban Art Gallery in London. And it does give you the opportunity to see things in a higher resolution and explore it a little bit better than you would do in a truly virtual, flat, fake 3D in-browser experience. Another example which really tickled me was Upfest, which is a massive urban art festival that happens every year in Bristol. Got cancelled, like many other things this summer. And it basically is a whole street art festival which takes over the whole of Bedminster High Street in Bristol. So as an alternative, they created this 3D virtual render of Bedminster High Street in a Tron style, and then imposed different murals from various artists on the space. Now, this hasn't been maintained massively. Like, this event was in the summer, so it's looking a little bit empty now, but just a really nice, playful way of using immersive tech to represent a physical space which, people couldn't really go and visit at the time. So that, again, really tickled me. I thought that was a really nice touch. And I think the final thing that I discovered the other day, hacking the Heist. This is brilliant. Using augmented reality. So again, using a marker to add a digital layer that you can see on your phone, which is mapped to the reality in front of you. And this is basically a property where 3 priceless works of art were stolen in the 90s, and they have basically created this augmented reality experience where you can go into this property and actually view the stolen artworks. So it's using the tech to really poignantly, weave it into the actual story of this stolen art, and in a way try and return it to its rightful place. So you could check that out. I thought that was a really nice way of using tech to tell a story. And moving forward, I mean, the thing that's really piqued my interest out of this whole experience of using this virtual platform to put on my exhibition was the augmented reality side of it, not just so customers can try a piece of artwork in their own home, but also what it offers me as an artist as a way of embellishing my own art, physically on canvases, but also I'm really interested on how I could apply that to the street art side of my work. So that is something that I'm definitely going to be focusing on this year, and if anyone else out there is interested in that kind of thing, or collaborating, or has any ideas that they would like to discuss, I'd be all ears. That would be amazing. So yeah, from the whole experience of, through necessity, because of the pandemic, having to pivot my idea for an exhibition, and discovering this virtual platform, and now being inspired to really try and incorporate it into my artistic practice moving forward, has just been like a really wonderful silver lining of, you know, something that's been a pretty challenging time for everybody. So yeah, I remain really inspired by this whole process and excited to see where it goes. So hopefully I have piqued your interest in how you can apply immersive tech to your artistic practice. But also I've had people like art teacher friends that, you know, teach secondary school, asking about the platforms for their kids' examination shows. You know, so the applications are so multiple. It's not just for artists, it's for, you know, students, education sector, anyone that wants to display work in an immersive way that can be exposed to as many people as possible. It transcends geographical boundaries, transcends, you know, accessibility issues, and I just think it's such a powerful platform. So yes, I remain very excited and inspired to move forward. So yeah, thank you for your time, and have a great evening.